Hello, ladies. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this virtual classroom. What I want to go over today, ladies and gentlemen, is a quick reference, a quick chart that you can use to go from a fraction to decimal to a percent and all the way around. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in order to do that, we're going to write the letters in a triangle. I'm going to call this the free Dr. Pepper triangle. Free Dr. Pepper triangle. So I'm going to write the letter F for free, the letter D for doctor, and the letter P for pepper. And obviously the F stands for fraction. So here we have fraction, the D stands for decimal, and the P stands for percent. And the question is, how do I go about each of these? Well, let's ask ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, how do I go from a fraction to a decimal? Well, the way that I go from a fraction to a decimal is simply we divide. So I'm going to draw a division symbol right here to remind me that to go from a fraction to a decimal, all I need to do is divide. All right, well, once I have a decimal, how can I go from a decimal to a percent? How do I go from a decimal to a percent? Well, we just need to move the decimal on the decimal 2 times to the right. And that's why it's going from left to right, because we're going to move it 2 times to the right. So I'm going to write decimal 2%. So decimal 2%. To remind me that to go from a decimal to a percent, I just have to take the decimal wherever it is on the decimal and move it 2 times to the right and then put a percent symbol. Obviously, if I'm going from a percent to a decimal, I do the same thing. I move the decimal twice, but this time to the left. So wherever the decimal is on the percent, you just take the decimal and move it 2 times to the left, wherever it lands, and then take the percent symbol off. And then finally, from a percent to a fraction, ladies and gentlemen, we just have to remember that a percent it can be written as a number over 100. So you just take the percentage symbol or the percentage number and you put it over 100. And then obviously you just have to simplify. All right, that's how you go from a percent to a fraction. All right, and we can go the other way around, guys. If you're going from a fraction to a percent, then same thing. You just have to take that fraction and change it to a fraction over 100. Okay, we just need an equivalent fraction over 100, and we'll do an example in a second, so don't worry. So you just have to change it to something over 100, and then that number over 100 is the percentage. To go from a percent to a decimal, again, you just move the decimal twice and take the percent symbol off. And then from a decimal to a fraction, ladies and gentlemen, all you have to do is say the number correctly. Say the number correctly. For example, if you have something like 0.4, that is 4/10, right? 4/10. Oh, so that would be 4 over 10, and then you just simplify it, and then that's back to a fraction. So really, to go from a decimal to a fraction, ladies and gentlemen, you just have to say the right place value. All right, in this case, it was the 4/10. Oh, so the denominator is the tenths. If it was something like 45 hundredths, oh, then that would be 45 over 100. All right, and then you just simplify it. All right, so let's go ahead and use this free Dr. Pepper triangle, free Dr. Pepper chart with an actual example. And for that example, let's use the fraction 9/20. Let's go ahead and use 9/20. 9 over 20. All right, so 9/20 is obviously a fraction. So let's change that fraction into a decimal. Remember, fraction means division. So I'm going to divide 9 divided by 20, right? So 20 cannot go into 9, but it goes into 90 4 times, because 20 times 4 is 80. It gives me a remainder of 10. Bring down another 0, and 20 goes into 100 exactly 5 times, because 20 times 5 is 100. So ladies and gentlemen, 9/20, when you divide, will give you 45 hundredths. And now, how do I change 45 hundredths into a percent? Well, we're going to take that decimal on the 45 hundredths, and we're going to move it 2 times to the right. All right, so let's take that decimal, move it 1, 2. So now it's going to be behind the 5. So it's going to be 45, and then we add the percent symbol. So it's 45%. All right, and then to change a percent into a fraction, you just need to take that percentage and put it over 100. So that's 45 over 100. That's 45%, and we just need to simplify it. So in this case, we can divide both of these by 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9, and 100 divided by 5 is 20ths. And so as you can see, we're back to 9 20ths. Excellent. Now we can do the same thing going the other direction, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go the other direction. All right, so let's start with 9/20. So 9/20, let's change that to a percent. Well, if I start with 9/20, remember that a percent, ladies and gentlemen, is just a fraction over 100. So in other words, I just need to change 9/20 to some fraction over 100. So 9, how do I go from 20 to 100? Well, I multiply this by 5. And if I do that to the denominator, I need to multiply the numerator by 5. So 9 times 5 is 45. 45 per 100 is 45%. So we're back to 45%. All right, if we start with 45%, remember that there is a decimal at the very end. We have to move it to the right, to the left 2 times. So let's go ahead and move that decimal 2 times to the left. So we're going to go 1, 2. So it's now in front of the 4. And let's go ahead and get rid of the percentage symbol. So now it's 45 hundredths. And how do I go from a decimal to a fraction? Well, let's just say the right place value. So that's 45 what? 45 hundredths. So that's 45 hundredths. And let's go ahead and simplify that by dividing both of these by 5. And 45 divided by 5 is 9. 100 divided by 5 is 20th. We're back to 9/20. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, you can use this free Dr. Pepper chart to go from any fraction to a decimal to a percent, back to a fraction, or the other way around. And what I like about it is that, let's say that you don't remember how to go directly from a fraction to a percent. Well, you can go all the way around. You can just divide to make it into a decimal, and then move the decimal twice to make it into a percent. And that works for any of these. If you have a percent and you want to make it into a fraction, but you don't remember how to do that, you can first make it into a decimal and then just say it correctly and then simplify. So again, this is extremely useful. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you find this useful. And with that, I will see you next time.